Good morning. My name is Heather Fisher, Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. It is September 17th, 2024, 8 a.m. I call this meeting to order. The first item I would like to introduce our incoming new member, Nicole Holden. Welcome.
Thank you.
The second item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes from June 18th, 2024. Any comments or questions?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion is approved. Third item on the agenda is the Historic Overlay District Review of 2015 8th Street South in the Erskine Overlay District.
Morning, Commissioners. Luke Mormon with the Planning Department. Item 2 on your agenda is, 3, is located at 1215 8th Street South. You know, the aerial imagery here. To show you some context, if you follow the cursor on screen, is 8th Street South, 12th Avenue South, and 9th Street South, and 13th Avenue kind of surround the block of the subject property. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing accessory structure, garage, and attached mudroom on the west side or the rear of the house, and then reconstruct the new garage and mudroom. The house was built in 1926 and is a Tudor style. Here's site photos. On the top is just from Google Street View, and then on the bottom is from the alley looking towards the property, so you see the current garage as it sits today. And then another front view from the applicant, and then on the bottom is in the backyard looking towards the alley, so looking towards the west. And then on the top is facing northeast towards the house, kind of from the alley, and then a little closer on the bottom towards that mudroom, which is the darker brick on the left-hand side. The staff requested more photos and narrative from the applicant after the packet originally was published, and the applicant is here to speak on this item and any other questions, but they did provide the photos to show a little more about the garage condition as it sits today. So I'll just slowly scroll through them and can go back to them as you see fit. And here's some of the plans for the proposal. And existing house is in the front here, so on the east side of the property. And then on this site plan, you can see the hatched out areas where the existing garages will be demolished, and the new garage will be a larger footprint, and then connect from the mudroom, which will be new, to by a decking there. And then here's some elevations, and to point out the roof pitches, I think the existing house has a couple roof pitches, as you can see. I think 12 to 7 is how you'd say it, and then 12-12 for portions of it. In that the new construction would be matching the 12-12 pitch. And then one more elevation with the proposed materials, which will match the ethos and brick on the existing buildings. The current garage, or the current drawings show the garage exceeding the 15 feet height limit for accessory structures by just over a foot. But this will be addressed during the permit review, so aside from this commission meeting. And once again, the applicant, Matt Breen, is here to represent the owner and answer any questions, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
So is this considered an attached garage?
One second. Matt, you'll just have to recuse yourself.
Yeah, I like to
Thank
recuse
you.
myself and approach the dais.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Good morning, Commission.
So Matt, is this an attached garage?
It would be a detached garage. The mudroom in between is roughly 12 feet from the adjacent garage, so it would not be attached.
But there's a deck,
Correct.
so it's semi-attached.
As per the land development code or the code, it is not an attached structure.
Okay.
Comments or questions? My question is what the justification for the demolition would be. According to the overlay code, it has to be justified by deterioration, disrepair, or structural stability, also not detrimental to the historic character of the district. But can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, as you can see in the photos, the facade of brick has been deteriorating for some time and been moving, which is systemic of a larger issue. As that continues to sag and deteriorate, it's likely the structure itself that is sagging and deteriorating behind it. The only way we would note that is to start demoing stuff, but we could be fairly certain that it is itself deteriorating. The other intent is that it be used as much of the existing brick as possible, so we can keep some of that correlation between the existing structures and this new garage.
Any other comments or questions?
You said that it's deteriorating due to a larger issue. What would be the larger issue?
As you see the concrete or the brick itself sagging, it's sagging because it is not attached to a substructure where it's a cavity wall. That wall is tied back to, or I should say the brick is tied back to a wall. And because the brick is moving, we can assume then that the substructure is also moving.
So that's not a structural brick wall.
Not that I'm aware of, because it does have drip to the interior of it.
It's framed on the interior?
I believe so.
So currently, just from the images, I would say it could be justified for deterioration, maybe disrepair, but structurally, it looks, just looking at the images, I don't see any structural issues unless we could see what's on the inside and whether or not it's the brick is structural or not.
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay.
And again, I think the photos itself would tell a little bit more as you see the cracking and shifting of the brick along specific routes. You can see that it's sagging. And because the brick is supported off the wall behind it, we can assume that either the brick ties have failed or the structure itself is failing. To do any remediation would mean to tear off that brick and redo it, which we likely cannot do to the same effect because this brick would have to be reused. And as you can see, it's probably not going to be able to use all of it. So it would be a very risky endeavor to guarantee anything.
Is the only space that it's sagging next to the door? Like where it's bowing out and
If
things?
you look at the other photos, there's one that comes across that window head as well.
Isn't that supposed to look like that? Where it has a little bit of a header above the door?
That's not what I'm referring to. If you keep going to that. So your sill is separating. So that means the bricks themselves, you can see there's typically a 3/8 mortar joint. We're probably looking at close to an inch and a half mortar joint that's been patched over time. That means that brick is pulling apart and separating, where you can see it bunching up to the right at the door.
Has there been any consultation with Mason, just in terms of what their ability be to?
I don't know if it's a specific mason, but Dawson Construction is on basically the contractor for this and has reviewed it and said that they would prefer to not redo this.
Do they do brickwork though? to this degree?
That,
Like, is that their specialty?
I don't know that for sure.
So that would probably be a no.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a question for staff, and that is, one of the criteria that has to be met is the demolition is justified by the state of deterioration or the building has been condemned. What is the process to condemn a garage like this?
I believe that starts with the inspections department, and I think they have to bring that to the city commission where they vote on whether it's a condemned building, and that would be subject to demolition outside of any other review, but that would be from the commission themselves, I believe, unless there's anything else. Yeah.
I think the building official also weighs in heavily on that in terms of what is dangerous or not.
So the garage has been condemned?
It has not, we don't have any documentation for anything like that for this building.
But if the owner or the owner's contractor was concerned about the structural integrity of the property, they could actually start that process. There's nobody that's out wandering the city looking for condemned property, right? I mean, someone has to start the process.
I think sometimes it's complaint-based, based on safety or I think other people viewing it or people, or maybe the owner themselves, I believe, but yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
Have the homeowners taken into consideration any other design options that maintain the structure of the existing garage?
The size of the garage itself is another impetus for the change because they have 2 children and SUVs. The garage itself won't fit 2 cars with their stuff.
Yeah,
So they've opted to have a larger footprint.
yeah, I
So-
wish my closets were bigger in my older home too, but that's just kind of how those are.
But your closets are not a garage.
No, they're not, but that's very standard for older homes.
Buy a smaller car.
So is the new construction maximizing the cap on the increase in size of the garage?
Sorry, I didn't follow you.
I know it's larger, but it has to be no larger than a certain percentage, right?
Of the square footage of the lot, so 75% coverage.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're not anywhere close to that.
I think there was something about the maximization of the footprint of the garage could be 40% larger. Is that what you were discussing? What you were referring to?
It can be.
Matt, what would be the alternative if this commission did not approve?
Likely we'd appeal it.
Has the city been contacted at all about having a engineer or inspections department look at the state of the building currently?
No, the inspections department reviewed the plans that were submitted for a building permit, but I don't believe there's been any other coordination beyond that.
Any other comments or questions?
I have one more question, sorry. So I know we're focusing on the garage, but it sounds like the mudroom that's attached to the house also be demolished?
Yes, the current mudroom is an addition that was added at some point over the history. Nelson's bought this place about 2 years ago and did not, it wasn't constructed while they owned it. As you can see, it actually does not match the existing building other than the roof pitch, obviously. But their intent is to match it more closely with stucco so that it does marry into the existing building more and with a larger footprint so they can actually use it for, again, more stuff.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I guess I don't see an issue with the mudroom at all. I don't think, I mean, that's not original to the structure, and the design of the new mudroom, I think, looks like it probably fits the structure better. I guess my only concern would be with the garage and making sure we're not removing a structure that is historic but
Well,
salvageable.
it's 100 years old, 98 years old. We're going to tear it down so they can have more stuff. We are the Preservation Commission.
Just to remind you, within the special development standards for demolition, it does say that the request satisfies all other criteria. Number one, that it justifies deterioration, disrepair, and structural stability. Two, request for demolition is not detrimental to overall style of the historic district. And then number three, the request for demolition is consistent with the purpose of comprehensive plan and adaptive policies of the city.
Without the inspections department looking at it.
Would you like to comment on that?
They haven't looked at it. Isn't that what you said, Luke?
Yeah, they looked at the new
Proposal.
plans, yeah, but not the current inspection to look at stability or anything like that.
Any more comments or questions? Or a motion?
I think the concern was the functional obsolescence of the size of the garage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a way to utilize the current structure, adding onto it in some way, adding an additional stall perhaps, that would offer the space that's required while maintaining the current structure?
I can't speak to the structural integrity of the current structure, so I don't know if I can say yes or no. Yes, you could design something around it, but if it is cost prohibitive to maintain an existing structure because of its current deteriorative state, I cannot make that choice. That is my client's choice to make.
Was there an estimate for demolition?
There was, when we originally proposed this and sent it to the city, the overall cost of the project was the same price as the house itself. So we scaled it back, and this is our scaled back version.
But specifically just for the demo of the
I don't have a
garage?
line item for demolition, no.
Any other comments, questions?
One thing I would like to address is the current design as proposed. We would propose to use as much of the existing brick as possible on the new facade. The idea is that I've only shown it on the west side, the alley facing side, just because reality-wise, I don't know how much of this can be salvaged. But I wanted to put some honest idea of what we could do.
So you'd be using the brick from the structure and not the thin brick veneer that's in the patio?
No, and that was a request by the city that I submit something. I don't have a cut sheet on the existing brick, so that would just be what I could have done.
Matt, I'm just curious, I'm looking at the picture A1.1. What does that have to do with your proposal today?
Sorry, what are we referring to?
Boreen design, first floor plan, south elevation, west, east, north, breakfast nook, site. It's captioned A1.1. There you go. What
That
does-
is
What
the-
does that have to do with your presentation today?
These are the construction documents for the contractor themselves, as well as for the submittal for the application for a historic overlay. Is there more that you were interested in?
I just don't see that having much bearing on the existing structure or the proposed change to the garage.
So the image on the top left is a perspective rendering the applicant provided to show what it'll look like when it's all complete. So that doesn't show the existing, but it's just the proposal on the top left there.
I like the plan. I think the plan looks like it's designed well to meet the design style of the house. My only question is, are we removing a structure that we shouldn't in order to make that happen?
What are the current dimensions of the existing garage?
Do not have that at my ready. Sorry, I don't know that. And go back to the existing photos, a 16-foot garage with roughly 18 inches on either side. So we can approximate
19 feet.
20 feet.
About 20 feet wide and about maybe 20 feet deep, 24 feet deep.
It's approximately a square, so yeah.
Any more comments or questions or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? All right. Having none, is there another motion?
I have a comment then. If we want people to invest in our historic core neighborhoods, we have to have some idea that there has to be some modernization to match utilization in 2024 versus 1924. Part of it is a functional obsolescence. It's too small for the vehicles. But I find it interesting that this commission has let prominent historic structures be demolished in this city without a whimper, without a cry of protest. And we're taking a hard stance on a property that's going to be significantly improved that is in the alleyway. And so,
In defense of this commission, the projects maybe that you're referring to have not passed on its commission, and anything that would be out of our scope at this point. Any comments or questions?
I mean, that's also my concern is, I mean, we have guidelines to follow for structures within the overlay. The structures that you're discussing aren't within the overlay, so we don't have any jurisdiction there. My concern is, do we stray away from the ordinances that are placed in front of us? Do I think they need revision? Possibly. Should they be expanded to other areas? I would think so. But task at hand in front of us is I just don't know that I see proof that this is a structural issue. I guess I don't know too much about brick. At first I thought maybe this just needs tuck pointing. I don't know, and I don't feel like there's sufficient proof that this structure is unsound. The roof looks to be straight. The walls mostly look to be straight. The slab that it's sitting on is cracked, but there's superficial cracks. I'm not seeing heaving in any way. So I feel like I just need more evidence that this is a structural concern in order to go with the ordinances that are placed in front of me.
May I comment?
Yes.
So the alternative being is we keep this and we redo the facade because at this point the facade is failing. If we redo it in a stucco. So now you have the same project with a smaller footprint.
I would say not necessarily, that's one solution, but there are sure many solutions.
Again, I don't make the decisions of my clients. If they want to have a stucco building for cost prohibitive reasons, to redo this, to reuse the same brick would be cost prohibitive.
I think right now, we're looking at just the ordinance in front of us in terms of demolition and abiding by that. Beyond that, we can just make assumptions, which we're not doing at this point until we see proof. Any other comments, questions, motions?
Well, if that's the decision, there's no action to be taken today, I suppose. Is there an action to be taken today? Are we rejecting this? Is that the motion? Because if that's the case, you can come
Make a
back
motion.
again with another option, or you could appeal to the city commission.
After going to the inspections.
Is there a way to provide us with more information to make the case for the structural integrity, be it a inspector's report or something of that nature?
There can be, but may I propose a alternative option to approve the house construction as is and put on hold the garage until we have further evidence of the deterioration so that they can begin work this fall?
I would be in favor of approving the sunroom reconstruction.
The mudroom?
Or sorry, mudroom. That's got some windows.
But that's also, it's ancillary to the original construction.
Correct.
So are you making a motion to approve?
If that's what would be agreeable, I would make a motion to approve the mudroom reconstruction portion of the project
And table the garage?
until we have further information. Correct.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nope.
Right. Motion's approved. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the city?
No comments from us.
Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is October 15th, 2024. Thank you.